Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers with your esteemed host, Bang and Dang. It's the third week of the month. You know what that means. We are on the Remastered series right now. We are in the middle of Wild Wild West. Once again, we've traveled back in time.
Great Scott, Marty.
To get all dusty and rusty and break out our trusty six-shooters. Pew, pew.
Pew, pew.
We've already done...
Thighs all shaped up from the fucking saddle.
Right. Well, no, that's what the chaps are for, man. Right.
Some of us ain't rich enough to have chaps.
Well, everybody's had chaps. I think you were born with chaps on back in the day. We are going to be doing Sam Bass. Notable guy. This guy's got a long story, actually. One of the longer stories out there about any guy, and I bet you not much is made. Well, I know not much is made media-wise about this guy. Like, obviously, your Wyatt Earps or Doc Holliday's or Wild Bill's.
There's some movies on them.
There's a couple things on him, but, yeah. Gonna redo his story. I think we got a little bit of more information somehow than our last one, so it should be pretty interesting. Before we get into it, go check out our Bang Dang Network YouTube channel. And we post shorts, clips, our YouTube exclusive Dart League, and if you listen on Spotify, Apple, share with your friends, review, and answer that Spotify question. Samuel Bass, train robber, Sam Bass was, who led two gangs during the days of the Wild West, obviously, were the Black Hills Bandits between 1876 and 1877. And they also had the Bass Gang of Texas that operated in 77 to 78. He was born in Mitchell, Indiana, July 21st, 1851, to Daniel and Elizabeth Jane Bass. Unfortunately for him, he was orphaned before his 13th birthday. Afterwards, he was raised by an uncle. He left his home at the age of 19, said, I gotta get out. Gotta be a man.
Bass worked for about a year at a sawmill with little paid and boring job. That was in Rosedale, Mississippi. And he said, screw that shit, I'm going to Texas. North Texas, that is, where he worked for a time for Sheriff Everhart of Denton City and Denton County. While still an exemplary and honest young man, Bass came into possession of a small race pony, which was a little sorrel mare. When most of the neighborhood boys met in Denton on Saturday evenings, Bass raced his pony with much success. Everhart soon noticed that Sam was beginning to neglect his work because of his pony, and knowing only too well what this would lead to, he advised Sam to sell his mare. He's like, you're going to head down the road, and it's not going to be good for you. And Bass was like, I love this animal, he says, though. Finally, matters came to such a point that Mr. Everhart told Sam he would have to get rid of the horse or give up his job. And Bass was like, take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more, which was probably the turning point in his life.
I bet it was. Well, he then left Denton County in the spring of 1877 and traveled to San Antonio. Many cattlemen were gathered to arrange the spring cattle drive to the north. Joel Collins, who was planning to drive a herd from Uvalde County to Deadwood, South Dakota, hired Bass as a cowboy.
Damn.
After 6 months on the trail, the herd reached Deadwood and was sold, and Collins paid off all the cowboys.
At that time period, Deadwood is a great, wide-open mining town. Adventurers, gamblers, mining, and cattlemen all mingled there.
Oh, they were mingling.
Though Joe Collins had bought his cattle on credit and owed the greater part of the money he had received for them to his friends in Texas, he gambled away all the money he had received for the herd. When he sobered up and realized all his money was gone, he did not have the moral courage to face his friends and creditors at home.
Oh, poor guy. He didn't want to go home. Be
2,000
probably
miles
hung.
away. I think he's fine where he's at. He became desperate, and with a band of his cowboys, known as the Black Hills Bandits, they held up and they robbed several stagecoaches. These robberies brought Collins very little money, but they started Sam Bass on his criminal career.
All right. Fast forward to the fall of 1877, Collins, accompanied by Bass, Jack Davis, Jim Barry, Bill Heffridge, and Tom Nixon, left Deadwood, drifted down to Ogallala, Nebraska.
Oh.
Here he conceived, planned, and carried into execution one of the boldest train robberies that ever occurred in the United States up to that time.
Uh-oh.
When it was all ready, these 6 armed and masked men held up the Union Pacific train at Big Springs, which was a small station a few miles beyond Ogallala. Oh.
Union Pacific will fuck you up, man. The bandits entered the express car, ordered the messenger to open the safe. The latter explained that the safe had a time lock.
there we go. What are we going to do? I forgot about the time lock theme with these guys.
Right, and could only be opened at the end of the route. One of the robbers then began to beat the messenger over the head with a six-shooter, declaring he would kill him if the safe were not opened. Bass, always of a kindly nature, pleaded with the man to desist, declaring he believed the messenger was telling the truth.
Well, just leave him alone, man. How are you going to open it if you beat him to death anyways? Right. Just as the robbers were preparing to leave the car without a dime, one of them noticed 3 stout little boxes piled near the big safe. Curious bandit sees a coal pick, knocked off the lid of the top box. He exposed $20,000 in shining gold coin to his great joy and delight.
Damn.
The 3 boxes each had a similar amount, all in $20 gold pieces.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's $20 gold pieces. They know where that is.
Right.
Melt that shit down, I guess.
After looting the boxes, the robbers went through the train and systematically robbed the passengers of about $1,300.
Poor-ass passengers.
Still, right? By daylight, the bandits had hidden their money and returned to Ogallala. They hung around town for several days while railroad officials, United States deputy marshals, and sheriff parties were scouring the country for their train robbers. Like, anything we can do to help?
Well, let us know what we can do. We'll be right here. Here's this $20 gold coin for your troubles. Collins and his men frequented a large general merchandise store. In the store was a clerk who had once been an express messenger on the Union Pacific and was well acquainted with the officials of the company. Of course, the great train robbery was the talk of the town. The shopkeeper conversed with Collins and his gang about the holdup, and the bandits declared they would help hunt the robbers if there was enough money in it. Oh, look at you guys. It's equivalent to like our murderers on the search party for the person that they murdered.
Well, the shopkeeper's suspicions were aroused, and he became convinced that Collins and his band were the real hold-up men. However, he said nothing to anyone about this belief, but carefully watched these fellas. Finally, Collins came to the store, and after buying clothing and provisions, he told the shop guy that he and his companions would return to Texas and be up the trail the following spring with another herd of cattle. When Collins had been gone a day's travel, the shopkeeper hired a horse and followed him. Oh, shit.
He went up to the horse and was like, are you tired?
He soon found the route the suspects were traveling, and on the second day, he came upon them suddenly while they were stopping at a roadside farmhouse for something to eat. He passed by without being noticed, and he hid himself near the trail. In a short time, Collins and his men passed on, and then he followed them until they went into camp. When it was dark, the amateur detective crept up to the bandits, but they had gone to sleep, and he had learned nothing.
It's a waste of time.
Right.
Well, that next day, he resumed the trail. He watched the gang make their camp for the night again, crept up to them within a few yards of his suspects. Bandits had built a big fire and were laughing and talking. Soon they spread out a blanket and, to the shopkeeper's great astonishment, brought out some money bags and emptied upon the blanket $60,000 in gold.
Oh, shit.
From his concealed position, he heard the robbers discuss the holdup.
Oh, no. They declared they did not believe anyone had recognized or suspected them. Well, they were wrong, and decided it was now best for them to divide the money, separate in pairs, and go on their way. The coins were stacked in 6 piles. Each man received $10,000 and $20 gold pieces. It was further decided that Collins and Bill Heffridge, they would travel back to San Antonio. Sam Bass and Jack Davis, they're going to go to Denton County. Oh, and Jim Barry and Tom Nixon, they were to return to Barry's home in Mexico, Missouri. No shit.
Well, as soon as the shopkeeper had seen the money and heard the robbers' plans, he slipped back to his horse, mounted, and rode day and night to reach Ogallala. He notified the railroad officials of what he had seen and gave the names and descriptions of the bandits and their destinations. This information was broadcast over southern Nebraska, Kansas, Indian Territory, and, of course, Texas.
Oh, they're in trouble.
Ooh, they didn't hear, like, the horse? You're in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, come on. In the fugitive list sent to each of the companies of the Frontier Battalion of Texas Rangers, Sam Bass was thus described as 25 to 26 years old, standing 5 feet 7 inches high. Black hair, dark brown eyes. He had a brown mustache, large white teeth. Shows them when talking. Has very little to say.
All right. Shows his teeth when talking. All right.
All right.
A few days after the separation of the robbers, Joel Collins and Bill Heffridge rode into a small place in Kansas called Buffalo Station. They led a pack pony. Dismounting from their tired horses and leaving them standing in the shade of the store building, the 2 men entered the store and made several purchases. A railroad agent at the place noticed the strangers ride up. He had, of course, been advised to be on the lookout for some people that might be some train robbers.
Oh.
Are these guys paying with the coins? That'd be pretty dumb.
All right, dummies. He entered the store and in a little while engaged Collins in conversation. While talking to Collins, he pulled his handkerchief out of his coat pocket and exposed a letter with his name thereon. The agent was a shrewd man. He asked Collins if he had not driven a herd of cattle up the trail in the spring. Collins declared he had, and finally admitted that his name was Collins, in answer to the direct question.
Well, 500 or 600 yards from the Buffalo Station, a lieutenant of the United States Army had camped a troop of 10 men scouting for train robbers.
Shit.
For the train robbers. As soon as Collins and Heffridge remounted and resumed their way, the agent ran quickly to the soldiers' camp, pointed out the bandits to the lieutenant, and declared, "There go 2 of the Union Pacific train robbers."
Oh, shit.
They're like, fuck.
Oh, man, here we go. Here we go, guys. The Army officer mounted his men and pursued Collins and Heffridge. When he overtook the 2 men, he told them their descriptions tallied with those of the same train robbers he was scouting for. And then he declared they would have to go back to the station and be identified. Collins laughed at the idea and declared that he and his companion were cattlemen returning to their homes in Texas. They reluctantly turned and started back with the soldiers. I'm like, oh, shit.
Well, after riding a few hundred yards, the 2 held a whispered conversation. Suddenly, the 2 pulled their pistols and attempted to stand off with the lieutenant and his troop. The outlaws were promptly shot and killed.
Oh, shit.
Our army ain't fucking around, dude. Ain't got time for you guys.
Right. Like, whatever.
On examining their packs, the soldiers found tied up in the legs of a pair of overalls, $20,000 in gold. Not a dollar of the stolen money had been used, and there was no doubt about the man's identity.
Oh, shit. Idiots. Well, not long after they had divided up Nebraska, Jim Barry appeared at his home in Mayhew, Missouri. At once, he deposited quite a lot of money into the local bank and exchanged $3,000 in gold for currency, explaining his possession of gold by saying he had sold a mine in the Black Hills. In 3 or 4 days, the county sheriff learned of Barry's deposits, called the bank to see the new depositor's gold. His suspicion...
Why would he do it in his hometown?
Right.
Stop at some other fucking raggedy town.
Right. His suspicion became certain when he found that he had deposited $20 gold pieces. Man.
Well, that night, the sheriff with the posse rounded up at Barry's house, but the suspect was not there. The home was well provisioned, and the posse found many articles of newly purchased clothing. Just after daylight, while searching the place, the sheriff heard a horse whinny in some timber nearby. What does whinny mean? Upon investigating, he suddenly came upon Jim Barry sitting on a pallet.
No shit.
Barry discovered the officer about the same time and attempted to escape by running.
Damn.
Too late, buddy. Oh, jeez.
Oh, shit. He was fired upon, one bullet striking him in the knee and badly shattering it. He was taken to his home and given the best medical attention around, but gangrene set in. He died in a few days. Holy shit. Most of his $10,000 was recovered. Tom Nixon must have left Barry somewhere en route, for he made good on his escape with his ill-gotten gain and was never apprehended. Oh,
good for you, Tommy.
So he's a smart one.
Right. Long thought he returned to Canada. Good for you, Tom Nixon. Fuck yeah, that's the way to do it.
Right.
After the separation in Nebraska, Sam Bass and Jack David sold their ponies and bought a light spring wagon and a pair of work horses. They placed their gold pieces in the bottom of the wagon, threw their bedding and clothes over it, and in this disguise traveled through Kansas and Indian Territory to Denton County. During the trip through the territory, Bass afterwards said he camped within 100 yards of a detachment of cavalry.
Oh, shit.
You guys, yeah.
Right. Don't, you know.
I mean, they changed their appearance. They did some good stuff.
Right. After supper one day, he and Davis visited the soldiers and chatted with them until bedtime. It's bedtime.
It's time to go to bed, soldiers.
Soldiers said they were on the lookout for some train robbers that held up the Union Pacific in Nebraska, never dreaming for a moment that they were conversing with 2 of them. Just like that, I don't know if it was a true story or not, but that movie, Wicked Springs.
Never heard of it.
2 Confederate soldiers and 2 Union soldiers get lost during battle.
Oh, yeah.
And end up sleeping over with each other and talking throughout the night during campfire. And then when they woke up, they realized they're each wearing the enemy's uniform.
Right, it was dark.
And then had to go to battle that next day.
Right.
The men also mentioned that 2 robbers had been reported killed in Kansas.
Like, oh, fuck. This rumor put Bass and David on their guard, or Davis on their guard, and on reaching Denton County, they hid in the Elms Bottoms until Bass could interview some of his friends. Upon meeting them, he learned that the names and descriptions of every one of the Union Pacific robbers were in possession of the law officers.
Oh.
That Collins, Heffridge, and Barry had been killed, and that every sheriff in North Texas was on the watch for Davison himself.
Oh, shit.
Gotta stay hunkered down in these Elm Bottoms for a bit there, buddy.
Wow. Well, Davis begged Bass to go with him to South America, but Bass was like, nah, man. So Davis said, guess what, Sam Bass, my friend? Goodbye.
Gotta get out of here, buddy.
Gotta go. Loner's gonna be alone now. He was never captured either.
Good for him. Look at see the smart people.
On his deathbed, Bass declared he had once received a letter from Jack Davis written from Nolans asking Bass to come there and go into business of buying hides.
Should have did that.
Yep.
Bass had left Denton County early in the spring, an honest, sincere, and clean young man.
No.
By following with Evo Associates, he had become, within a few months, one of the most daring outlaws and train robbers of his time.
Oh, shit. And freaking Everhart knew it.
Right.
It was either the pony or him, bud.
Before he had committed any crime in the state, the officers of North Texas made repeated efforts to capture him for the big reward offered by the Union Pacific. But owing to the nature of the country around Denton and the friends Bass had, as long as his gold lasted, it was met with no success.
You ain't kidding.
He's just going to give people fucking $20 coins.
You ain't kidding.
Don't say shit.
Right. Bass's money soon attracted several desperate and daring men to him.
Right.
Henry Underwood, Arkansas Johnson, Jim Murphy, Frank Jackson, Pipes Herndon, and William Collins. Oh, no, don't mess with Collins, but that was bad the first time.
Well.
And William Collins, the last one, a cousin of Joel Collins, and 2 or 3 others, and others.
And others.
Yeah, they joined him in Elm Bottoms. Naturally, Bass was selected as the leader. It was not long before the outlaw chief planned and executed his first train robbery in Texas. He did that at Eagle Ford, which is a small station on the Texas Pacific Railroad, a few miles out of Dallas. Quick succession, the bandits held up 2 or 3 other trains, the last at Mesquite Station, 10 or 12 miles east of Dallas. From this robbery, they secured about $3,000. About 12.
Look at his first robbery that he ever did.
Right.
He probably never surpassed that ever again.
They met with opposition here, for the conductor, though armed with only a small pistol, fought the robbers and slightly wounded one of them.
You, bud. The whole state was now aroused
Ooh.
by the repeated
Texas
train
got a
hold.
hard on.
Right. Everything's bigger in Texas. Too. General John B. Jones hurried to Dallas and Denton to look over the situation and arranged to organize a company of Texas Rangers in Dallas. Captain June Peak, a very able officer, was given the command. No matter how brave a company of recruits, it takes time and training to get results. And when this raw company was thrown into the field against Bass and his gang, the bandit leader played with it as a child plays with his toys. Said, all right, we'll have a little game. You guys want to have a little game?
Wow, counting the 30 Rangers and the different sheriff's parties, there were probably 100 men pursuing the Bass gang. Sam played hide and seek with them, and it is said he never ranged any farther west than Stevens County or farther north than Wise County.
You stayed right there, like, come get me.
Right. He's kind of like Billy the Kid.
Right.
He was generally in Dallas, Denton, or Tarrant counties. He would frequently visit Fort Worth or Dallas at night, ride up with his men to some outside saloon. I think they have an outside saloon.
Outside the area, I'm assuming they're meaning.
They'd all get drinks, and then vamoose out of there. Vamoose.
Vamoose. Vamoose.
Vamoose.
Well, finally, in a fight at Salt Creek in Wise County, Captain June Peak and his Texas Rangers killed Arkansas Johnson.
Oh, shit.
Who was Bass's most trusted lieutenant. Either just before or soon after this battle, the Rangers captured Pipes Herndon and Jim Murphy.
Oh, man, now it's falling apart.
And drove Bass and his 2 remaining companions out of North Texas. At that time, the state had, on the frontier, 6 companies of veteran Rangers.
Oh, shit.
They were finely mounted, highly equipped, and were the best mounted police in the world.
I bet.
Any one of those highly trained commands could have broken up the Sam Bass gang in half the time it took command of new men.
Oh, wow.
Well, why didn't they then?
Right. Idiots. After the fight in Salt Creek, only Sam Bass, Seaborn Barnes, and Frank Jackson were left. These men had gained nothing from their 4 train robberies in North Texas and were so hard-pressed by the law officers on all sides that Bass reluctantly decided to leave the country and try to make his way to Mexico. General Jones learned of the plan to go to Mexico through some pretended friends of Bass.
You can't trust nobody.
Right. He, with Captain Peak and other officers, approached Jim Murphy, one of Bass's gang captured at about the time of the Salt Creek fight. He was awaiting trial by the federal authorities for the train robbery, and they promised that they would secure his release if he would betray his friend, his buddy.
Well, Murphy hesitated and said his former chief had been kind to his family, had given them money and provisions, and that it would be ungrateful to betray his friend.
Yeah, that's true.
The general declared he understood Murphy's position fully, but Bass was an outlaw, a pest to the country, who was preparing to leave the state, and so he could no longer help him. General Jones warned Murphy that the evidence against him was overwhelming and was certain to send him to the federal prison, probably for life, and exhorted him to remember his wife and children. Just think of your wife and kids.
Wow.
You're still going to jail.
Right.
Murphy finally yielded and agreed to betray Bass and his gang at the first opportunity.
Oh, no. You think Bass?
How do you not know this guy's got caught?
Right.
And then he's just going to come strolling back. Hey, guys, I'm out.
He took this all. They had nothing.
Right.
What do you mean? $10,000 in gold that you had on you? Where's your gold, Johnny?
It wasn't him.
All right. According to the plan agreed upon, Murphy was to give bond. And when the federal court convened at Tyler, Texas, a few weeks later, he was not to show up.
Well, there you go.
It would then be published all over the country that Murphy had skipped bond and rejoined Bass. This was carried out to the letter. Murphy joined Bass in Elm Bottoms of Denton County and agreed to rob a train or a bank and get out of the country. Quick. Pronto. Some of Bass's friends, suspicious of Murphy's bondsman, wrote Sam that Murphy was playing a double game and advised him to kill the traitor at once.
Should have did it. Should have did it, Sammy. Well, Bass immediately confronted Murphy with these reports and reminded him how freely he had handed out his gold to Murphy's family. Bass declared he had never advised or solicited Jim to join him and said it was a low-down, mean, and ungrateful trick to betray him. Ooh. He told Murphy plainly if he had anything to say it quickly. Barnes agreed with his chief and urged Murphy's death. He said, kill that motherfucker. Shit. Kill him, Sam.
Murphy's like, damn, motherfucker's smarter than I thought. Murphy denied any intention of betraying Bass, and he offered to take the lead in any robbery that Bass had planned and be the first to enter the express car or climb over the bank railings. He's like, I'll do whatever you need me to do, man. Put me in the front line. Bass and Barnes were very angry and decided to kill Murphy. Frank Jackson had taken no part in the conversation, but he now declared he had known Murphy since he was a little boy, and he was sure Murphy was sincere and meant to stand by them through thick and thin. Bass was not satisfied and insisted that Murphy be moited then and there.
Well, Jackson finally told Bass and Barnes that they could not kill Murphy without first killing him. Fine, pow pow. Mm-hmm. Although the youngest of the party at just 22 years old, Jackson had great influence over his chief. He was brave and daring, and Bass could not get along without him at the time, so his counsel prevailed, and Murphy was spared. And then they all agreed, we need to get the hell out of this country, guys. They planned to rob a small bank somewhere on the way to Mexico and thus secure the funds needed to facilitate their escape, because they ain't got no money. What the hell did you do with the $10,000, guy?
He just gave it away like an idiot. Bass, Seaborn Barnes, Frank Jackson, Jim Murphy left Denton County early July 1878. With his usual boldness, Bass, after he had passed through Dallas County, had no attempt at concealment, but traveled the public highway in broad daylight.
Yeah, the ball's on this guy, huh?
Damn, Bass and Bonds were still suspicious of Murphy and never let him out of their sight, though they refused to talk or associate with him in any way.
Damn. Well, when they reached Waco, the party camped on the outskirts of town and remained there for 2 or 3 days. They visited the town each day, looked over the situation, and saw much gold and currency in one bank. They were like, Jackson was enthusiastic and wanted to rob it at once.
He's like, no!
Being more careful and experienced, Bass thought it too dangerous for running through crowded streets to the outskirts of the city was too far, and so he said, we ain't going to do that.
Right. While in Waco, the gang stepped into a saloon to get a drink. Bass laid a $20 gold piece on the bar and remarked, there goes the last 20 from the Union Pacific, and done little good it has done me.
Damn little good.
On leaving Waco, the robbers stole a fine mare from a farmer named Billy Mounds.
Hey, Billy Mounds. Hi, Billy Mounds here.
Right. and traveled to the main road to Belton. They were now out of money and planned to rob the bank in Round Rock, Texas. They had to.
All right. Well, General Jones, meanwhile, was by then getting anxious over the gang. Not a word had been heard from Jim Murphy since he had rejoined the gang, for he had been so closely watched that he had no opportunity to communicate with the authorities. It seemed as if he would be forced to participate in the next robbery despite himself.
Oh.
Well, of course, he's going to have to.
Right, there's no choice. Well, in Belton, Sam sold an
They had to have talked to him, like when they let him out. They were like, we're going to have to probably commit a couple crimes with these guys. Mm-hmm. Sure, it was no big deal, as long as you don't kill somebody.
In Belton, Sam sold an extra pony that he had. The purchaser demanded a bill of sale as the vendors were strangers in the country. While Bass and Barnes were in a store writing out the required document, Murphy seized the opportunity to dash off a short note to General Jones saying, we are on our way to Round Rock to rob the bank. For God's sake, be there to prevent it. Wow.
As the post office was right next to the store, Murphy succeeded in mailing his letter of betrayal just 1 minute before Bass came out on the street again. The gang continued to Round Rock and camped near the old town, which was situated about 1 mile north of New Round Rock. The bandits concluded to rest and feed their horses for 3 or 4 days before attempting the robbery.
Jeez.
This delay gave General Jones time to assemble his rangers to repel the attack. You guys should have just went for it.
Right. I mean, that's the problem. After General Jones was made Adjutant General of Texas, he sent a small detachment of 4 to 5 rangers to camp on Capitol grounds at Austin. He drew his units from different companies along the line. Each unit would be detailed to camp in Austin, and about every 6 weeks or 2 months, the detail would be relieved by a squad from another company. It will readily be seen that this was a wise policy, as the detail was always on hand and could be sent in any direction by rail or on horseback at short notice. So he had men at his disposal.
Right. Well, Jones was devoted to his Texas Rangers and liked to have them around where he could see them daily. At that time, 4 men from Company E, Corporal Vernon Wilson and Privates Dick Ware, Chris Connor, and George Harold, were camped at Austin. Corporal helped General Jones as a clerk in his office, but was in charge of the squad on the Capitol grounds, slept in camp, and had his meals with them.
Look at that.
Good for you.
Good for you, right? Okay, I guess we're going to this little story with General Jones, huh? When General Jones received Murphy's letter, he was astonished at Bass's audacity in approaching within 15 or 20 miles of the state capitol, the very headquarters of the Frontier Battalion. He's like, I can't believe he's going to rob a bank there. The letter was written at Belton, Texas, and received at Adjutant General's office on the last mail in the afternoon. The company of Rangers nearest Round Rock was Lieutenant Reynolds' Company E, stationed at San Saba, 115 miles distant.
Wow.
There was no telegraph to San Saba at that time. General Jones reflected a few moments after receipt of the letter and then arranged his plan rapidly. He's like, oh, shit.
Well, he turned to Corporal Wilson and told him that Sam Bass and his gang were or soon would be at Round Rock, Texas to rob the bank. He says, I want you to leave at once to carry an order to Lieutenant Reynolds. It's 65 miles to Lampasas, and you can make that place early enough in the morning to catch the Lampasas and San Saba stage. You must make that stage at all hazards, save neither yourself nor your horse, but get these orders to Lieutenant Reynolds as quickly as possible.
Oh, shit. He's like, no matter what.
He said, I don't care if you work your horse to death. You better get there, then you better run after he dies.
Wow. Corporal Wilson hurried to his horse, saddled it up, and got away from Austin on his wild ride just at nightfall.
Good for you, bud.
Wilson reached the Lampasas at daylight the next morning and made the outgoing stage to San Saba. Look at that
for
shit.
you, buddy.
Good following orders, bud. From Lampasas to San Saba was 50 miles.
Jeez.
And took the stage all day to make that trip.
Could have probably did it faster on a horse.
As soon as he landed in town, Corporal Wilson hired a horse and galloped 3 miles down to Lieutenant Reynolds' camp and then delivered his orders.
Good little boy.
All right.
After dispatching Corporal Wilson to Lieutenant Reynolds, General Jones hurried over to the Ranger camp on the Capitol grounds and ordered the 3 Rangers, who were Ware, Connor, and Harold, to proceed to Round Rock, put their horses in Highsmith's livery stable, and keep themselves concealed until he could reach them himself by the train the next morning. Also, he gets to take the train.
Right.
The following morning, General Jones indeed went to Round Rock.
Oh, shit.
It's about to go down.
A fella named Morris Moore traveled with him from Austin. He's an ex-ranger, but then deputy sheriff of Travis County. On reaching his destination, the general called on Deputy Sheriff Grimes of Williamson County, who was stationed at Round Rock, and told him that Bass was expected to rob that very bank and that a scout of Rangers would be in town as soon as possible. Jones advised Deputy Grimes to keep a sharp lookout for strangers, but on no account to attempt an arrest until the Rangers could arrive.
Okay. In the meantime, Sergeant Neville delivered Reynolds' orders to the Ranger camp at San Saba, which were brief and to the point. It says, Bass is at Round Rock. We must be there as early as possible tomorrow. Make a detail of 8 men and select those that have the horses best able to make a fast run. And you, with them, report to me here at my tent, ready to ride in 30.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
Damn. First Sergeant C.L. Neville, Second Sergeant Henry McGee, Second Corporal J.B. Gillett, Privates Abe Anglin, Dave Ligon, Bill Derrick, and John R. and W.L. Bannister.
Just John R.
I think they're bros.
Maybe, right? Yeah, John R. Bannister and W.L. Bannister.
They were all selected for this campaign. Lieutenant Reynolds ordered 2 of his very, very best little pack mules hitched up.
Little pack mules.
Right, hitched to a light spring hack, for he had been sick and was not in any condition to make the journey on horseback. Oh, he had to lay down.
30 minutes from the time Corporal Wilson reached camp, the Rangers were mounted, armed, ready to go.
Oh, damn.
Lieutenant Reynolds took his seat in the hack, threw some blankets in, and Corporal Wilson, who had not had a minute's sleep for over 36 hours, lay down to get a little rest. The Rangers left their camp on the San Saba River just at sunset and traveled in a fast trot the entire night.
Oh, look at that. Like fast trot. The sun was coming up when the Rangers crossed the North Gabriel River, 15 miles south of Lampasas. They had ridden 65 miles and had 45 miles yet to go before reaching Round Rock. They halted on the Gabriel River for breakfast. They had bread, broiled bacon, black coffee, and the horses were fed as well. I hope so.
That sounds like a fine breakfast to me. Bacon and bread, baby.
You
got butter?
Broiled bacon.
Broiled.
course, black coffee. Well, it's the guy. After just 30 minutes, they were off again, reaching the vicinity of Old Round Rock between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon of Friday, July 19th, 1878. The Rangers, they camped on the banks of Brushy Creek, while the lieutenant drove into New Round Rock to report his arrival to General Jones.
Well, Bass had decided to rob the bank Saturday the 20th, so look at them, just right in time. After his gang had eaten dinner and camped Friday evening, they saddled their ponies and started to town to take a last look at the bank and select a route to follow in leaving the place after the robbery. As they left camp, Jim Murphy, knowing the bandits might be set upon at any time, suggested that he stop at May's store in Old Round Rock to get a bushel of corn as they were out of feed for their horses. Look at this pussy.
Bass, Barnes, and Jackson rode on into town, hitched their horses in an alley just back of the bank, passed that building, and made a mental note of its situation. They then went up to the town's main street and entered Copperell's store to buy some tobacco. As the three bandits passed into the store, Deputy Sheriff Moore, who was standing on the sidewalk with Deputy Sheriff Grime, said he thought one of the newcomers had a pistol.
I can't be taking a pistol.
Oh, shit.
I will go in and see, replied Grimes. I believe you have a pistol, remarked Grimes, who approached Bass, trying to search him. Bass says,
Grimes goes into store.
Bass replied, yes, of course I have a pistol. Obviously, you know where you're at. At the words, the robbers pulled their guns and killed Grimes as he backed away to the door. Oh, shit. He fell dead on the sidewalk. They then turned on Moore and shot him through the lungs as he attempted to draw his weapon.
Damn it. Now they can't rob the bank.
No.
Well, that helped out, right?
Might as well take money in the cash register.
Right. At the crack of the first pistol shot, Dick Ware, who was seated in the barber shop only a few steps away, waited his turn for a shave. He rushed into the street and encountered the three bandits just as they were leaving the store. Seeing Ware rapidly advancing on them, Bass and his men fired on the Ranger at close range. One of the bullets striking a hitching post within 6 inches of his head and knocking splinters into his face. This assault never halted Ware for an instant. He's like, that don't matter me.
He was a brave little guy and never hesitated to take the most desperate chances when the occasion demanded it. For a few minutes, Dick fought the robbers single-handedly. Coming uptown from the telegraph office, General Jones ran into the fight. He was armed with only a small Colt's double-action pistol, but threw himself into the fray. Connor and Harold had now come up and joined in the fusillade. Seeing the robbers on foot and almost within his grasp, the general drew in close and urged his men to strain every nerve to capture or exterminate the desperados.
Oh, shit.
By this time, every man in town that could secure a gun joined in the fight.
Oh, shit.
We got ourselves another coffee town happening.
You ain't kidding. The bandits now had reached their horses and realizing the situation was critical. They fought with the energy of despair. If ever a train robber could be called a hero, this boy, Frank Jackson, proved himself one.
You good old Frankie.
Barnes shot down and killed at his feet. Bass was mortally wounded and unable to defend himself or even mount his horse while the bullets continued to pour in from every quarter. With heroic courage, Jackson held the Rangers back with his pistol in his right hand while he unhitched Bass's horse with his left and assisted him into the saddle. Look at that shit.
Oh, Frankie. Then, mounting his own horse, Jackson and Bass galloped out of the jaws of hell itself.
Oh, shit.
In their flight, they passed through Old Round Rock when Jim Murphy, standing in the door of May's store, saw Jackson and Bass ride on past. Well, Murphy noticed that Jackson was holding Bass, pale and bleeding in the saddle. Lieutenant Reynolds, entering Round Rock, came within 5 minutes of meeting Bass and Jackson in the road. Before he reached town, he met posses of citizens and rangers in pursuit of these two very men. Wow.
Oh, shit. Wow. When Bass and Jackson reached the cemetery, Jackson halted long enough to secure a Winchester they had hidden in the grass there, then left the road and were lost for a time. The fight was now over, and because of two spoiled, over-jealous deputies bringing in an immature fight they had been warned to be careful of, Moore and Grimes should have known that the three strangers were the Sam Bass gang.
Right. They were told not to do anything.
Right. Told not to do nothing, but these guys are like, pew, 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 pew.
Well, Lieutenant Reynolds started Sergeant Neville and his rangers early the next morning in search of the flying bandits. After traveling in the direction the robbers were last seen, they came upon a man lying under a large oak tree. Seeing the armed rangers, the man called out to not shoot, saying he was Sam Bass.
No
Just lying dead by the tree.
You ain't kidding. After entering the woods the evening before, Bass became so sick and fainted from loss of blood that he could move no further.
Go further.
Right. Jackson dismounted and wanted to stay with his chief, his tribal chief.
Acknowledge him.
Right.
Damn it.
Declaring that he was a match for all their pursuers. Right. I can do anything.
Right. I'll hold them off. Fuck them.
Bass says, "No, Frank, I'm done for."
Done for, old buddy. Get out of here. Save
Right.
yourself.
Right. The wounded leader told his companion to tie his horse near at hand so he could get away if he felt better during the night. Jackson was finally prevailed upon to leave Bass and make his own escape.
Well, when daylight came Saturday morning, Bass got up and walked to a nearby house. As he approached the place, a lady, seeing him coming, holding his pants up and all covered with blood, left her house and started to run off as she was alone with a small servant girl. Bass saw she was frightened and called for her to stop, saying he was perishing for a drink of water and would return to a tree not far and lie down if she would only send him a drink. Well, the lady indeed sent him a quart cup of water, but the poor fellow was too far gone to drink it.
Oh, wow.
He was found under this tree 1 hour later. He had a wound through the center of his left hand, the bullet having pierced the middle finger. That's it?
Really? He's going to die from that?
Nope.
Bass's death wound was given him by Dick Ware, who used a .45 caliber Colt's long-barrel six-shooter. The ball from Ware's pistol struck Bass's belt and cut 2 cartridges in pieces and entered his back just above the right hip
that'll
bone.
do it.
Oh, the bullet badly mushroomed and made a fearful wound that tore the victim's right kidney all to pieces. Damn. From the moment he was shot until his death 3 days later, Bass suffered untold agonies. As he lay on the ground Friday night where Jackson had left him, the wounded man tore his undershirt into more than 100 pieces and wiped the blood from his body.
Bass was taken around Rock and given the best of medical attention, but died the following day, Sunday, July 21st, 1878, which is his 27th birthday.
Ooh, 27 Club.
27 Club. He was the first member. While he was still able to talk, General Jones appealed to Bass to tell him the names of the rest of the gang members and where they might be.
Oh, why would he do that?
Right.
General Jones said, "Sam, you have done much evil in this world
Much evil.
and have only a few hours to live. Now, while you have a chance to do the state some good, please tell me who your associates were in those violations of the laws of your country." Sam replied that he could not betray his friends and that he might as well die with what he knew.
Good. Good for you, Sammy.
Sam Bass, buried in the cemetery at Old Round Rock. Small monument was erected over his grave by his sister. Its simple inscription reads, "Samuel Bass, born July 21st, 1851. Died July 21st, 1878. Brave man reposes in death here. Why was he not true?"
Wow. Did he know it was his birthday?
Right, ain't that crazy?
Meanwhile, Frank Jackson made his way back into Denton County and hung around for some time, hoping to get an opportunity to murder the betrayer of his chief.
Right, which was Murphy.
Yep, Jackson declared if he could meet Jim Murphy, he would kill him, cut off his head, and carry it away in a gunny sack.
Oh,
Murphy indeed returned to Denton, but learned that Jackson was hiding in the Elms Bottoms, awaiting a chance to slay him. He thereupon asked permission to the sheriff to remain about the jail for protection.
What?
While sulking about the prison, one of his eyes became infected. A physician gave him some medicine to drop into the diseased eye, and at the same time cautioned him to be careful, as the fluid was a deadly poison. Murphy then drank the entire contents of the bottle and was dead in a few hours.
wow. Yeah, he felt so bad.
Remorse, no doubt, caused him to end his life. He was like, dude, I'm going to die. I'm getting my head cut off.
Damn.
Just kill myself, huh?
There's no photograph of Bass, either while he was dying in town under a doctor's care or after he had died himself, even though Texas Rangers were under tremendous pressure from Austin politicians to capture or kill him. To this day, no known photo has ever been confirmed to be of Sam Bass. And when his sister visited Round Rock a year after his death to place a headstone there, she indicated that the photo on the wanted poster shown to her by the Williamson County Sheriff was not her brother.
That's not him. Don't worry, guys. You couldn't find the fucking
Right.
man. Well, his grave is now marked with the replacement headstone, as the original suffered at the hands of souvenir collectors over the years, of course. What remains of the original stone is on display at the Round Rock Public Library. There are roads named after Bass in Round Rock, Denton, and Sanger, Texas. During Round Rock's annual Frontier Days celebration, performers reenact the shootout in the old downtown. Ralston, Texas celebrates Sam Bass Day annually on the third Saturday in July.
Sam Bass Day.
Sam Bass Day, man. There's also the Sam Bass Fire Department
Oh my gosh.
of Brushy Creek in Round Rock, Texas, Williamson County.
Wow.
They've got a whole fire department named after him.
You guys love their fucking outlaws.
In 1936 episode on the syndicated radio drama Death Valley Days, Bass's last days are portrayed.
Oh shit.
1951 Western movie The Texas Rangers. Sam Bass is played by William Bishop. 1953, Sam Bass was the antagonist in a newspaper daily strip story about Laredo Crockett by Bob Schwenke. 1957, Tales of Wells Fargo, Season 1, Episode 10. Main character Jim Hardy is ordered to infiltrate Sam Bass's gang so he can learn where they're holed up between raids. He is played by Chuck Connors. Cool. A Lone Ranger episode about Sam Bass, broadcast April 24th, 1944, taking great liberties with the facts. 1959, Alan Hale Jr. played Bass in the episode The Saga of Sam Bass, on the Western television series Colt 45. And this most recent portrayal apparently is in the 2015 Western movie Kill or Be Killed, which was loosely inspired by Sam Bass and his gang.
There's also a movie in 1949 called Calamity Jane and Sam Bass.
Well, clearly fictional. That's going to do it for us and Samuel Bass, everybody. Nice little story. I like Samuel. Samuel Bass. You know...
If it wasn't for Jim Murphy,
right.
Would have worked out.
Piece of fucking shit. Nobody got killed at all during any of these robberies until...
Stupid reconnaissance.
Right. What are you going to do? Dude got fucked up, dude. He sat there for 3 days under a tree, bleeding out. I think he died sooner.
You know, all would have been fine if Jim Murphy wouldn't have slipped away and got a message to General Jones.
He would have got away with it, too, if it wasn't for you,
Mr.
Murphy.
Was it for you, Murphy?
Mr. Murphy.
Was it for you, James? You don't like being called James.
Call me Jimmy. Next week, we got another serial killer episode, which I think we're gonna do a popular one. Maybe Gacy
John Wayne Gacy.
or Ed Gein.
Beginning and buying too.
Something like that. So stay tuned next week.
Whatever.
On the other hand, our next remastered episode is probably going to be about Charles Black Bart Bowles.
Ooh, Black Bart.
Black Bart.
Oh, Black Bart. Bound to bound, Black Bart. Bound to bound.
So, yeah, we got a lot going on coming up this week or this month. Remember, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. And if you're just listening on Apple, Spotify, any other podcast stuff, give us a review, share us with your friends, answer that Spotify question, and we'll see you next week for some serial killing. So people's throats are going to get slashed.
Oh, murder.
Where the mother is again this week.
Bang Dang.